Claire Manera, welcome.
Thank you.
We heard that some aid has trickled into Gaza. Is it actually reaching people?
It is slowly coming in and it's not enough. So this is after there's been a blockade since the 2nd of March, and the amount that's coming in can no way meet the needs of the people.
And tell me about the aid that has been arriving in the last 24, 48 hours. What are you getting?
Well, our trucks are on the way. They haven't arrived yet, but there's urgent medical supplies. So we've been running critically low on just some basic things like gloves and sterile compresses. And we also need a really high amount of pain medication because we're treating third-degree burns, especially on children as a result of the attacks and the bombings that they're experiencing on their homes.
So do you know at the moment, this might be too technical a detail for you to know, but do you know how many aid trucks are sitting at the border as we speak?
Well, I know that since the start of March, there's been hundreds and hundreds of trucks sitting there, including ours and those belonging to the UN and other organizations. So all of this situation is absolutely avoidable. The food situation and for the medical supplies, also fuel. We haven't received fuel for more than 2 months, and we need it for our ambulances and to run our hospitals, and also for the water trucking that we do to the population, because there is also no safe water to drink.
So what have you been doing? How have you been able to manage with very, very small, very low fuel supplies for those things you talk about?
Well, we have to make choices every day and decide, are we going to be providing water to the population because they need it to survive, to avoid having acute diarrheal disease? Of course, water is essential. But if we choose that, then we can provide less medical services in our hospitals. So it's just a daily choice that we have to make.
Tell me about the airstrikes that have been going on this week. What are you hearing and what are you seeing?
Well, it's constant. I mean, the sounds of the bombing is always constant, but it's been getting worse. It's been getting closer, and it's been targeting our hospitals.
Now, you just mentioned that you're short on pain medication. Obviously, for burns patients, burns are extremely painful. Is there enough anaesthetic to do operations on people who are injured in airstrikes?
Well, we're running critically low, and if we don't get more in soon in the level that we need, then yes, we're going to run out. And the worst thing, I think, is for the parents standing by who are watching their children they're screaming in agony from these burns and having their dressings changed, and the parents can do absolutely nothing about it.
And tell me about the situation with children, because we've been hearing a lot about the suffering of children, about the food levels, the available food for children. Is there anything like enough food?
Well, people are generally maybe eating once a day, but the food that is available is extortionate prices. So a 25-kilo bag of flour is something like $1,000 now. And there is no way that a person in Gaza can afford to pay that when they've been forced out of their home, they're living on the streets, and life is just becoming impossible for them.
So tell me about, you have seen a few trucks come up from the border crossing. Has there actually been food able to be distributed today or yesterday?
There is apparently some food going towards some of the households, but this is coming at a huge price. So in the past few days, there's thousands and thousands of people that have been forced out of their homes. They're told they have to leave immediately, and then their houses are bombed. So they're being pushed into tiny areas, and it's something like around 80% of Gaza is now a military zone. So it's an area where people cannot go back to. And even in the places where they are finding on the streets, they're still not safe.
You talked about treating patients, including children, with injuries. What about just describe some of the other diseases that you're seeing that are related to the current conditions.
Well, I think what has been the most horrific is to see the trauma injuries in the hospital. What I was seeing yesterday is so many people, adults and young adults, who have lost limbs, they've had limbs amputated, they're still in critical conditions, and the hospitals are overwhelmed. We have patients in the corridors because there's been so many hospitals hit recently. They've been attacked, they've been bombed, and the needs are increasing. So we just cannot assist the whole population.
Can you describe what you see when you walk through the doors of the hospital?
Well, it's pain and misery. You see people feeling helpless, doing what they can to help each other to survive, and our staff, they're still there, even in our hospital that was targeted 3 times in the last few months, but they insist on staying to help each other and to keep working. Out in the streets, then I have women coming up to me, desperate for food, asking for food, not for themselves, but for their children, because they're watching their children starve.
And what about further north in Gaza? Because you're in the center of Gaza. Is any aid getting to the northern parts of Gaza? And are there indeed any civilians left there looking for food?
There are still civilians there, but it's extremely difficult to get aid up there. And that is where there is the biggest intensification of the airstrikes and of the artillery shelling. We still have our staff up there. They're still running the clinic. And they are some of the bravest people I've ever come across is our Palestinian team. They're still coming to work every day, despite being unsafe in their homes, having lost all kinds of family members and not having enough to eat.
Claire Manera, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening. Thank you.
You're welcome.